On the first Sunday of every month, we take time as home churches to celebrate communion together. Remember what Jesus has accomplished for us. And communion takes place, as we read about in the Gospels, in the context of a meal. It was a Passover meal that Jesus was sharing with his disciples, sort of that Last Supper, right, as you've famously heard about. And one thing I love about a meal around the table is that it meets a need that we all have. When we share in a meal together, we're all receiving together. It's meeting a need, mainly to nourish our bodies. And no matter who you are or where you come from, when we sit down at the table for a meal, we are all getting a need met together. And it's a great equalizer, food. And the same can be said of the communion table. It's a place we gather collectively for a meal, knowing we each have a need to be met. The work of Jesus on the cross, it saves us from the powers of sin and death, and that continue to renew us more and more into his image. It doesn't matter how long you've been serving Jesus, whether you've got things together or whether your life feels like a mess. We all come to the table together, equally needing the grace and mercy of Jesus. And in fact, that word communion, if you look at what it means fellowship or mutual participation or sharing. I think that's such a wonderful word picture of what's happening when we receive communion together in our home churches. We're sharing life. We're mutually reminding ourselves of our need for Jesus' work on the cross. We're encouraging one another in the faith. And I think of the Apostle Paul's words in 1 Corinthians 11. He says, "For as long as you eat this bread and you drink this cup," right? Eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes. We are mutually reminding ourselves of our collective need for Jesus, our need for the nourishment we receive from him. And it also talks about in 1 Corinthians 11, it says, on the night that Jesus was betrayed, he took the bread. And so I'm going to ask you now, with your whatever elements you have, I've got a piece of bread here. Would you take the bread? And we're going to quickly pray over this before we receive this. And this represents Jesus' body, he says, which is given for us. So Jesus, we thank you for your body. We thank you that you willingly gave your life for us. You laid down your life as a sacrifice so that we could be set free. We could be made new. It provides healing, Lord, not just for our soul, not just our spirit, but God, also our bodies, our minds, our emotions. Lord, every aspect of healing is available through your body. And so, Jesus, we thank you. We celebrate that today. So let's take the bread together. And then it says, in the same way after dinner, he took the cup. Let's take our cup of juice together. And so this cup is a covenant, a new covenant of blood. It's a covenant of relationship with him. It's a covenant that signifies that we are set free. The price has been paid for our sin. So let's pray, and then we will receive the cup together. Jesus, we thank you for your blood that was shed, that was necessary to pay the price, the steep price for my sin, for our sin. But Jesus, we know you gladly paid it. And as we talked about last week, it was for the joy set before you. The joy of knowing that we would have access to God, that you would make a way for us to be close, to be brought back into the family. And so Jesus, we thank you. We remind ourselves together that Jesus, your blood is what sets us free. It's paid the price so we could be new. So Jesus, we say thank you. We worship you today. Let's receive the cup together. And as I've already said, as we do this together, as long as we do this, we are proclaiming, reminding ourselves what Jesus has accomplished for us on the cross and what we continue to need day in and day out. So let's never forget. Let's continue to encourage each other with the gospel that Jesus has come to rescue us as you continue to worship together.